Yeah, warm welcome to all of you in this Simply Business webinar series. I'm Kalyan Rao, and I lead the business development and partnerships at Simply Biz. So today we are covering this another important topic, building a winning tech capability center in India for US SMBs. First, let me introduce Simply Biz. We are a multidisciplinary professional services firm with competency in finance, legal, accounting, tax, and compliance. Talking about GCCs, we offer GCC as a service BOT model, which includes business setup, entity management, corporate secretarial compliances, and business legal services. Lots happening in the recent times with the growth of GCCs in India. Leading the way are cities like Bangalore and Hyderabad. Not just the large companies, but many small and medium businesses want to gain the benefit from this GCC trend and harness the potential of India. We believe many SMBs, especially from US, are planning to set up their tech capability center in India and would like to get some insights about the nuances of building a successful enterprise model. Today's topic is to provide such inputs to provide some inputs for such SMBs, and hopefully this session will help them. So we have two very experienced dignitaries from the industry today to share their views and experience, which might guide SMBs in various ways. First, let me introduce Mr. Phani Pattamatta. Mr. Phani is a successful business leader focusing on making companies better and has a mindset for starting new ventures. During his 30 plus years in corporations like Wipro, Adico, and Randstad, he helped global companies establish Indian tech centers. He helped AOL deploy their first 600 people and Dell their first 1,200 people in Bangalore in early 2000. Way back in 1998, he has set up an ODC for the Boston-based company in Hyderabad, which is now a listed company. And in 2008, he established a UK company on a BOT basis in India. In recent years, he has set up a shared services center for a Chicago-based SMB and supported many other US SMBs set up their India operations. Thank you, Mr. Phani, for joining us today.
Thank you, Kalyan.
Also on our panel is Mr. Anil Chalasani. He is currently the Managing Director, India and EVP at Gainsight. Anil has over 2.5 decades of experience in the IT industry and an expert in the B2B SaaS segment, which spans engineering and product development, product operations, cloud and IT operations, service delivery, compliance, security, finance, and HR. His experience and leadership has been focused on scaling operations, building India GCCs, developing and delivering technology-driven products and its operations and services. Prior to joining the IT industry, Anil was a scientist from the Mission Control Center at ISRO, that is the Indian Space Research Organization. Thank you, Anil, for joining us.
Thank you for having
A
us.
warm welcome to both of you. So we would like to first hear your views in a few words to set the tone to the whole agenda for the day on the relevance of today's topic in the present conditions globally and in the Indian perspective. Anilji, can we start with you?
Yeah, so, this topic is so relevant and, we have gone way past the whole question about why India, so I'm not going to cover that. The question these days being asked are, why are you not in India? That's the other question which comes up. And why it has gained so much prominence in recent years and days is also that, one, it's not about cost, it's about the innovation and you want to bring onto the table and also serve diverse markets, if you are obviously a US company where the core market is the US, there could be also how do you establish as offshore centers and, diversify your team. But India is also a big market, for your IT services and, growing year on year. And, we have lived in the past 15 years, I call it ZIRP years, zero interest rate regime in the US, right?
Wow.
Where, you were able to gain access to a lot of capital. And, that era is gone, that era is past gone. And we are now in an era where, the the innovation, the growth year on year, the EBITDA becomes very important. So from that perspective, bottom line impact, having a center in India, while that should not be the key driver, is something which is gaining prominence across, whether you're talking about big enterprises, medium enterprises, or small enterprises.
Right. Funny, sir,
Yeah,
your thoughts, your
thanks,
thoughts.
Libis, and thanks, Kalyan. I think I fully agree with Anil. The super smart question for global enterprises today, especially in the US, is how quickly can we set up an integrated multifunctional GCC presence in India and create that lasting competitive advantage. I think these are few of those adjectives and adverbs that probably we will also deal with as we speak today. Way back in 2005 when Thomas Friedman said the world is flat, it for many it really felt like a far-fetched concept which he was trying to tell us. But until COVID-19, I think it just abruptly made become a reality for us, right? So
Absolutely.
it so seemed sudden that our traditional beliefs of having teams co-located with customers, they've all become out of fashion, and hybrid and remote work, they have become the new normal for many of us. I think that, in my view, has been the pivotal moment for this global capability center, the GCC word, which has become so popular in the last 3 to 4 years, and especially GCCs in India seem to really take the center stage. Even if Jensen of Nvidia speaks today, he was referring to GCCs and why the compute power is extremely important for him to increase. So this, I think, is while the pandemic is an inflection point, but I think it also firmly established India's credibility. The world also stood up and started noticing this indeed is the promised flat world which we are all living in right now. Back to you.
Yeah. So basically now in today's scenario, even in the GCCs, it's more of the tech companies which are, where we are talking, and today's topic is also on tech. So Fani sir, just continuing with you on the same line of thought. So how can SMBs determine if starting a tech center in India is a good move? Considering the current market trend and the new, the current market situation and the trends which are happening.
So, see, overall, I think both of us are talking. It's a important strategy for many companies to have capability center in India, right? So that I think is a point that is already mooted. I think how quickly and how fast is the question really, or probably is it all about what are we going to really do with this capability center? Is it to enhance operational efficiencies, or am I thinking I want to drive new innovation using this capability center, or expand my global reach? Because while rest of the world seems to be slightly struggling with what's happening in Europe and Africa and other areas, and especially the southeast Philippines or other places may have really good talent at a and the cost arbitrage can be solved, but nevertheless I think India also has its unique advantages of frankly I mean, the Gen Z population is almost like 377 million, right? So it's more than the population of the US. So to that extent, I think the whys have been answered very clearly, and most of them are tech savvy and willing to innovate. But overall, if the company has to adopt a strategy, US SMB especially, uh, it has to align with its uh, company's vision and the overall mission of the company.
Yeah.
The capability center must definitely align with the business goals, not just short term, like next 1 year 2 years, but a long term vision of the company. How do they want to really serve their customers? What are they plan to be competitive, compete in their own markets? Those are the drivers which one needs to do a strategic analysis and chalk out a plan
Yeah.
to start with. But of course, there are steps in which they have to go from the strategy to probably a feasibility study and an analysis and getting their board and other people onboarded onto the plan, because there has to be a it can't be one department or one group wanting to sponsor a capability center in say somewhere
Mm.
in the east of the world, right? So it's more of a board which has to ratify, resolve that they want this as a strategic requirement of the company. And therefore, even if there could be a sponsor who is maybe driving the whole initial setup, but even if they want to expand or sustain it for long term, who are the people who are going to align with this strategy, is a board convinced, because it can't be a plan done for 2 3 years and rolled back, so it can't be that way.
Absolutely.
So these are
Absolutely.
all those issues that the leadership and the board has to seriously deliberate. If need be, bring in uh, consultants, people who have done this in the past, who have experience in having done set up these GCCs, whether those are for large corporations, the Fortune 500, or probably the micro GCCs, as so one wants to call it, right? So where you set up to meet your own company's objectives. So aligning to that, and then of course having a design implementation plan, transitioning it correctly. So these are all the elements of how you want to go forward and move it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's I think the whole discussion about, and how quickly and how fast that you can do keeps you competitive.
Yes, yes, yes. Finally, the success all then finally relies on the type of people you have here and the skill sets and all those things. So it all bogs down to that.
Especially when we call tech centers, the assets are people, right? So
Assets of people. Yeah,
it
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
the individuals and the leaders who make the difference for companies.
True,
So
true,
to
true.
that extent, I think more than the capital equipment or anything else, it is the people that you need to be careful, set the right culture, set the right standards, set the right metrics, all of those.
True, true, true. So based on this, Anilji, maybe just I mean your experience will add a little bit more to throw some light on the skill sets which we are talking about, the people which we just spoke about. Which specific
Yes.
skill sets should SMBs kind of prioritize when they are building their tech and teams in India?
Yeah, I
Do you
see.
think?
Yeah, it's interesting when we talk about skill sets, but it completely varies, whether you are into B2B SaaS, you are IT services, or you are a pure software development, or you want to build, a knowledge-based center, or, a back office center, right? Shared
Mm, mm, mm,
services.
mm.
So, but market research, if you do, the strong talent availability, keeping aside the cost structures, are in the technologies like cloud, cybersecurity, AI, and product development, right?
Yeah,
These are, kind of, AI, ML, and even, if you roll back, nobody talks now about blockchain and all that stuff. Those are the skill sets which are, available. Having said that, you have to nurture those skill set, I keep telling many people that India is the only country where 50% of, our population is under the median age of 29. And that's like a number which is, you know, and most of them, having studied and, literate, not obviously everyone is into IT, but that presents such a big opportunity to basically hire the right talent. uh, but it takes time to nurture the talent because everyone is fighting for the same lateral thing. So you have to have a short-term vision and a long-term vision on how you want to develop.
yeah. So even if it is not just saying even top, the getting people for that at the top level. I mean the top tech talent also is it's something that is I know. So what is the best strategy for finding them at the top level? Getting the developers and all those things is like a set path. But maybe getting a CEO or the GCC head or somebody that can what should be the strategy?
Yeah, so I think, one, you partner with firms, right? Obviously, but I think there are enough leaders out there who are ready to take the next step, people coming in from IT services who have spent 20, 25 years there. Other strategies, obviously, so in-house, right? When I say in-house, you already have a center in the US. You have a lot of expatriates who want to return probably after having spent their time there, or they want to come and establish the center, and those opportunities exist. And that's the first step. Either you can choose that or this. So you have to make a call. Both ways,
Right.
I have seen success stories,
Okay.
you know, and I think they will have to just decide on one and go ahead, and don't dilly dally between those two, and delay your decision, I would say.
Okay, 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 okay. Funny sir, I mean, you already, in your last statement, you mentioned about the logic of, aligning the goals and everything with the parent company and all those things. So, the next question is more typical for that. Like how a small and medium US businesses make sure that the tech centers of India in India align with the main business goals and of the parent company. So is there a strategy for that? Is there a mechanism of how to ensure growth in spite of the distance between both the entities?
So if, like I said, if the whole strategy is evolving from the host country or the parent company, so to speak, and the company is very clear, why they're setting up the capability center, right? Then there will be a huge alignment from the day one, right? So it is very clear that the company, the board, and the whole leadership knows why they are setting up this center. But at the same time, like Anil has also pointed as an option, sending someone from the parent company to establish the initial or at least the setup phase, etc. Those will help in terms of driving and keeping the culture intact, ensuring that all those boxes are checked. For example, what is the original blueprint or the strategy that you started out with, and what is being executed on the ground. Someone has to really have these checks and balances, continuously review, and of course, there will be some refinement, which comes based on what you learn in the new territory, right, in the new geography. But at the same time, these are what you optimize. How do you really transform your plans? But at every stage, every step, it is essential to get board aligned into the decisions that are being taken on the ground, which is quite important, because when the foundations are right, Kalyan, in my view, you can actually sustain the new units for a long time. It is not just about, like I said previously, it's not one department's decision or a group that is just chosen to, spend some money and set up a center somewhere in India, right? So
Right,
it is
right,
more
right.
to do with the company's own goal, and as a part of their strategic priorities, that they are doing this. And also we have noticed in the past, and also from experience, right? So some of these who have started off India as a different center, and then integrating it into the global vision took certain you know took a while for a few companies had to struggle with that, which we have seen in the past as well. And companies which came with the blueprint, which is ratified and approved in the board and decided by the uh, leadership, has a long termness that we have also seen. So these are the learnings that we have 20 years or more than 20 years, ever since I think in 1985 when Texas Instruments had come to Bangalore. From
Understand.
then we've been seeing these centers being set up in different shapes, sizes, and formats, right? So we knew how these worked and what didn't work also over the time. So I think learning from all that, I would conclude and say that aligning with the vision of the company from the beginning. And even if company wants to take a little bit of extra caution, it is most essential at the beginning of time than to in a quick hurry go and set up something and struggle with it later on, because
Right.
alignment later on is not easy at all.
Yeah. No, its alignment is not just on the thoughts point of view, but also from the operational frameworks and the things. I mean, their way of working is different. Our way of working is different in India. So if you try to keep that, the whole activity very smooth and flexible, also needs to be flexible. So according to you, what should be the this SMB's focus on while planning to have the operations you know started off?
Yeah. So I think,
Kalyan, is it for me? Anil?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. No, Funny, if you can
yeah,
add, then I will target to Anil.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Uh, Maybe there was a bit of internet issue here. So on that, it's not just alignment. Also, in terms of the long termness and the plan, because the businesses dynamically keep changing and evolving over the time, right? So if there is a strategic understanding between the host country or the parent organization and the new setup, that it is not about just this capability center. Even if I open a branch in a different other country for expanding my market, or whichever be those new centers, the more and more alignment that they have with the leadership of the company, their growth and sustenance are long term. They Because when a business changes its mission statement or something in the plan, over when a example, if there is a COVID that hits and companies want to change and shift their plans or way of working to remote and hybrid, for example,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if the India office is not aligned to their global locations, it makes it very difficult for the CHRO, for example, to keep
Mhm.
pace with what's happening in the global company versus what is so they have to look like another organ of the same body, but can't be operating in a different manner, right? So that's exactly when I say alignment. It is important to bring it in from the day one. Over to you, Anil.
yeah. I think I'll use the two, three probably buzzwords here, right? Tech Capability Center, when we say, I think GCC is more appropriate because, you're talking about a global captive center, which is it's in your own center. It's not like it's a third party center
Mm.
which you are running. So it is very important to provide local autonomy with global accountability. Allow some local decision-making autonomy, especially for innovation. However, maintain accountability to global standards, metrics, and governance. Yeah. Other thing is agile operational process. Implement agile methodology that allow for flexibility in change management, managing products. That. And cross-functional collaboration becomes so key in the initial stages. You will have an executive sponsor, but encourage ongoing collaboration between India Center and headquarters through shared projects, knowledge transfers, leadership alignment meetings. So basically, you create a two-way flow of information and best practices.
So how did you, in your journey, Anilji, kind of bring in the cultural alignment within the teams? I mean, if you can quote some examples, how did you that whole thing happen? Because it is very different words. Both are two different words.
Yeah. So first of all, the cultures are very different, right? If you are working with a US-based citizen who has grown up there and grown up there, India is a very different question. So we do come up with a lot of cultural examples. Giving examples like the demographics of India, make them understand about Indian festivals. I'm not talking about at all business now, right?
Ah.
Talking about our concept of joint families, how our people usually plan their vacation around kids holidays or festivals. um, Talk about cricket, talk about Bollywood, bring in that, that cultural aspect. And obviously then talk about the business, how Gen Z is transitioning to, a more, non-hierarchical kind of, because traditionally India was always hierarchical, right? Because, we lived in joint families, so, father, grandfather, but, that whole setup to bring into your capability centers or GCC, in this era, that's a change which India is changing, talk about those aspects.
Right, right.
And ultimately, every company has core values,
Mm.
so that core values don't change, whether you are in India or in US or elsewhere. And that becomes your five pillars, your core values to drive the alignment culture-wise.
So that culture wise also it should, I mean, we feel that, there is a need for also the learning and innovations that needs to be done. I mean, it's not just because culture is alignment, but how do you enhance the, the internal learning of the employees to adopt to the Indian thing? Because what we are
Yeah,
training out here is
absolutely. So,
different. What they get trained is different.
for example, if a executive leader there wants to set up, they already have a center and they want to set up additional teams here.
Yeah,
They don't know about India that, notice periods are 2 months or 3 months in some
yeah,
cases. They
yeah,
don't even know that, okay, once you start a rec, it will take so much time to hire, right? Because typical notice period in the US are like 2 weeks max,
right,
right?
right,
And
right.
you are get ready. So that kind of, knowledge or, initial sync up you have to do and explain that you need to have a plan in place and execute it. And once you have the plan, it becomes an engine, basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Funny, sir, another question that comes to mind is like, what are the key metrics basically SMBs should measure in order to measure the success? Okay, this is all done. We have done this operationally, it's there and all those things. But this is a very kind of something that, everybody wants to know. It's because all this thing is like, we get a lot of KRAs to achieve and all those things. But unless you don't measure, then it is no point having that. So, because now it is like you already said, it's not only the cost, the benefit you are, you say that, it's not only to save costs, why these people are coming, all the GCs are getting set up. What should be the, metrics that should be used according to you?
So, so metrics, of course, are there are strategies which are long term, and there are plans which are for a specific term, and then metrics which are either quarterly or annually getting revised based on what is changing within the system. But typically, like we said in the beginning, whether it is for operational efficiency that we are setting this up in the beginning of time, or is it to drive new innovation, or is it expansion of the market? So based on what our original objective for the center has been, the metrics continue to evolve. I mean, we define those metrics based on what is the key priority and what are the other requirements, right? So it is multiple in that sense. So if it is driving innovation, for example, what is the IP creation that I'm doing? What are the targets or what are the goals that we're creating for the GCC? That becomes the one of the key metric. Which if you will, the sign of success. What is the sign of success? That I say, okay, we have done this as per plan, and therefore, I'm probably investing more into this particular center or whatever, right? Or if it is operational efficiencies, of course, the cost savings and how much the center is able to take uh, work from the global headquarters or the other locations or other businesses, and be able to show optimization of the costs and other bottom line impact,
Right.
right? So those are when we are really wanting to measure operational efficiencies. Then market expansion, if really we choose that center being the fulcrum to expand into other regions, which the company does is not currently covering, into Asia, into below into ANZ or some other Southeast Asia or any other geographies, then it is of course mostly into the business. What am I growing in the revenues, and how am I capturing my new businesses? So each objective, the reason why I'm setting up this tech center defines my metrics. Other than what are the new POCs, what are the other deliveries that I made, or what I implementations that I did, or what all new technologies that I transitioned, or the solutions I created from here, or how many business units or the groups or departments are sharing setting up teams in the GCC, the new GCC. So multiple of such aspects will be measured, and as a metric we keep see there is always this review and reporting and all of those which happen for every leader. So that is how they behave and function just like another unit within the company, right? So the leader collects all the information from within different departments within the country India GCC itself, and then keeps publishing these periodically to the either board or the sponsor, to whom this site leader rolls up into. So that's how these are measured. But there has to be a regular reassessment of the metrics. What is working, what is not working, what am I learning
Yeah.
over the time, and
True.
therefore realign my the corporation needs to agree upon a few things which they want to include, or with few things which are not working that they wish to drop. So this is a continuous conversation, and that happens only if like Anil said, we celebrate a lot of festivals together, and the cultural fitment happens between the two locations and the leaders on both sides, right? So that's how it works.
True. 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 Anilji, your thoughts on the same
Yeah, I
things?
think Mr. Funny covered everything, but if it really depends on what you are trying to do here. Is it a shared project? Is it a common development where few engineers are here or few engineers are there? But something which we have used, we have used in my past two organizations something called weekly business reviews, monthly business reviews, and quarterly business reviews, and the metrics remain the same.
Okay.
If there are KPIs around, let's say, time to market, how quickly are teams delivering on product development or updates, or if you are going deep into engineering, quality of deliverables, defects per release, customer satisfaction scores, NPS, or innovation metrics like patents filed, you know, if you're talking about broader talent and talent retention and engagement, retention rates, employee satisfaction surveys, or learning and development practice participation rates. And if you're measuring the whole center, I already said not measure by cost, but also, is there a way that you can derive cost efficiency value versus value creation by saying contribution to new products, revenue growth, and strategic goals? That becomes, I think, not initial stages, it's difficult because you are still setting it up. But I would call out these, KPIs.
Okay. Okay.
And Kalyan, just
Any
to add on your cost question, right?
Yes, yes, yes. That was the next thing I was coming, because that is something that is
So the cost arbitrage or the cost advantage, can be an initial attraction for the companies, which are setting up a new GCC, right? But over the time, it like Anil also added, it's value creation that is happening from
Exactly.
here. The strategic alignment, of this unit to the global locations or the headquarters itself, or even for example. What are the long term benefits, like am I able to access better skills here, or am I able to groom and develop global leaders sitting out of this center? So multiple long term advantages, both in terms of talent and technology innovations. These will become the metrics as the GCC and the new location matures over the years.
okay. Okay. Great. So I mean, from my side, I have it was quite something to overwhelm with a lot of information. The good, but of course there would be some questions from the audience also we should take at this point. Shrita, any questions from the audience? Can you ask everybody to unmute? Can you unmute everybody? If at all somebody wants to directly ask.
or maybe they can access the chat window if it is enabled for them.
Yeah,
Yes,
maybe
they
I'll,
can,
I'll
and yeah, they can ask in the chat window.
maybe let me ask one question. Anil, if you are fine to share a little bit of a Gainsight journey, how Gainsight globally benefited, having center in India, right? I mean, I think you have been associated a very long time with Gainsight, and it's a billion-dollar company. How significant this center has contributed to the global success or a global growth? Maybe if you can, that can be a fantastic case study. I mean, maybe you're a large company, but I think when it was started, I'm assuming it was an SMB. It's a maybe a small company.
Yeah. So, when I joined the company, we were around 40 people, more like a startup, Series A, and, that way. Always the focus at that point in time was, opportunity cost and, uh, you know, product market fit, release the product. And so India Center was more like a engineering center, you know, engineering was always the core focus. But very soon it realized that, value creation happens beyond that, then, as on today, we do all the functions in Gainsight, except obviously we don't still sell and market our products in India. So,
Okay.
whether it is, we have evolved from product and engineering, which is now only 50 to 55% of the overall organizations, into professional services, shared services. Our global NOC is here, which runs 24 by 7, 365, finance shared services, customer success, because that's our, core value proposition, customer success teams, and, all those facts. And the thing is, we use multiple terms in the past, right? But Gainsight is slightly, I would say, is not in the same category what we are talking, because the roots of Gainsight were that two founders, one based out of Hyderabad, one based out of US. So that initial kickstart itself was, this is like two founders in two locations. So it was always a base location. But in my past companies, obviously, similar things which we did, it was decided that, not just for cost, but for value creation, we need to diversify. And India was chosen. And you start with one team and then prove it and move on to other teams. So that has been, once you have proven with engineering in Gainsight, it's easy to show this as a case study and move on to other teams. And you will always have executive sponsorship. So with every executive sponsor, you have to sell the idea, the leader here, that, hey, you can set up your team, say this team is working, right? And I think in Gainsight, we had all the support from our leadership, and that, has been our growth path. Today, we are more than 550 people, and that's 50% of Gainsight is based off India.
Wow. Great.
And in fact, Anil, on having to pitch each and every new idea to people globally. So I was talking to one of the CEOs of healthcare GCC in India, in Hyderabad, which is about 250 people size. And he was telling me all his career in Tech Mahindra and other Satyam and other companies that he worked previously, was only to do delivery management. But having joined as a site leader or an MD of this company, he says, he's pitching constantly every day, to the talent and, people who, are potential employees, why they should join this company, building a brand there, or pitching to his counterparts in other countries or other headquarters, to constantly pitching all the time. And he says, as of being a delivery guy, I suddenly feel that I've become a salesperson now, constantly selling.
Right. Great. Anyone else has any questions? Okay. So maybe we can wind up here. Any kind of winding up thoughts, Phani sir, from your side?
Uh, I think we covered most of the points. In fact, GCCs also have a potential to evolve into individual profit centers. I think uh, their own serving, not just their parent organizations but also other external clients. This is one of the models which is a little in the future. Not immediately, but I think there are some companies which are evolving and trying to work out how this transformation and revenue based approach can become a focus for some of the GCs that are established over the years in the country that I am seeing, which is changing. But the widespread adoption of this model, I think, is in a few years from now.
So we
Yeah.
But
have a
like I said,
question.
this whole GCCs are here to stay, and if you're not in
Yes.
the game, you're not in the game.
True, 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 true. So there is a question from one Mr. Shubham who is asking what are the main areas of India's engagement with the GCC? Anilji, want to throw some light, answer that question?
Okay, main areas of engagement.
Yeah,
As I said, depends on what GCC. If you are, working on emerging technology, then it's more, uh, initial stages. You will be engaging a lot on hiring. Get the right talent. Train them. Get the knowledge transfer because it's a new center. So I always, tell that before GCC starts delivering, you have to deliver because you have to transfer the knowledge first for the
yeah.
teams here to deliver, right? So that is one aspect. The other is clear communication protocols. Establish clear, consistent communication protocols using platforms like Slack, Teams, Confluence, because some culturally ensure your meetings are inclusive of time zone differences and language sensitivities. you know Short-term exchange programs help a lot. Engagement, when you talked about, promote short-term exchange where US people are coming, spending time here. Indian teammates are going there to foster deeper understanding. But I'm not sure the question was on technical aspects, but overall, these are the broader areas.
Shubham, you can maybe unmute yourself and ask it if it is uh, uh, anything else that is you want to kind of communicate. Okay, one more. I'll take one more question from Teja, which say where he is asked when building a capability center in India for US SMBs, how important it is to address the cross-cultural management challenges. Funny sir.
Oh, culture is a big topic, right? So I think Anil explained it in detail in the beginning, and then somewhere in the middle. Doing these cross-cultural exchanges, bringing the people here, taking them around, showing them Kerala, Golconda, or making them attend our festival. So Anil actually explained it so beautifully. So the cross-cultural management is not a challenge, but it is a necessity, I would say. Instead of looking at it as a challenge, one needs to know how to really engage and manage it correctly, because these are your these are your colleagues on the other side. So when colleagues from different geographies come and work at the same place, the way we integrate, I think the different locations also learns how to adapt and integrate with each other, right? So,
Yeah, on the
anything.
funnier side, whenever my boss used to come, I used to take him to a T20 or an IPL match. Then I
Yeah,
come watch it, you know. Of course, apart from other, things which we do.
and
Cricket is
these
a
days
religion here.
these days in Hyderabad, a visit to T Hub is, I think, one of the extra
Yeah, also
activities.
to our kabaddi matches which used to happen
Kabaddi
there,
Exactly.
right?
matches. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That shows the ground, the real soil activities of India and the culture automatically gels in there. In the
Absolutely.
cricket, kabaddi, very rightly said.
I think if there is anything which is the most important, apart from, culture is the most important thing.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
nuances because it can break or make, your success
True,
ratios.
true, true, true.
I
So I
have
think,
one more question. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe both can respond. See, obviously, there's a lot of talk around, GCC capital. India has become GCC capital. We are talking about 1,800 GCCs. I mean, I think the way, I mean, this is counted, a center which has more than 3,000 people. I think, they call it as a GCC, and that's how this number came out, 1,800, right? I mean, we have large names, right? Deloitte to JP Morgan to, there are several names who fall under, these 1,800, maybe Pepsi, Marriott, which is coming, and all of them. But when we look at the, let's assume the US SMB who are 100 million revenue, 200 million revenue, 50 million revenue, 300 million revenue. So when they need to take this call, I mean, are they enough, do they have enough value? Are they have any disadvantage versus large guys? No, they need, I mean, I think talent is a big piece, right? I mean, hiring, retention, and all of that, right? So you have domestic companies, you have large MNCs, large IT services companies, and then you have this maybe US SMBs, maybe 100 to 300 million or 500 million revenue. In that context, I mean, what are the lessons? What is the recipe? Hope
Yeah,
my
I think
question is clear.
Raghu,
Yeah.
very, very important. See, most of the B2B SaaS companies which are in India, US based, are in the same revenue. We don't call them SMBs. By the way, 102 million ARR is no more SMB. So we're talking about maybe startups or 10, 50 people companies below 50 million ARR or something or revenue. And talent, yes, you think that, okay, can you get the right talent? But I have seen a lot of, if you look at Bangalore, for example, you know, 10 people, 15 people, you have set up a center. People prefer to have a broader kind of span of, control in terms of what they can do. Whereas in larger centers, you are boxed, right? You are only supposed to do that. So that pitching has to be done. And second is the small centers shouldn't bother too much about overheads and all those things. That's why, I think your business model is around bot. We talked about it. They should forget about, compliance, regulation, legal entity setup. Just start it, build, operate, transfer is a perfect model where, you minimize your risk and complexity in the initial setups. Large companies won't do it, they will always set up a legal entity. Advantage in bot model is access to local expertise for legal, regulatory, operational challenges, faster time to market, since, third party is handling the initial operations. And then think over a period of time, once you have proven whether you want to go from bot, move into wholly owned subsidiary. So that would be my recommendation for, really the SMBs which you talk about. But 100 to 2 million is not an SMB. It's
Yeah,
fairly
yeah.
matured organization.
Yeah, I just want to clarify on that point, Anil. See, obviously, from a SaaS enterprise tech, the 100 million ARR is a very large company. I think maybe I did not make it clear, but non-tech US companies also setting up the capability center here for a tech. That's another
see,
use case.
Raghu,
That's
look
another
at this.
use case. Yeah.
Raghu, look at this. There are few things that are changing very quickly, right? So uh, whether it is a non-tech company doing, retail CPG or, manufacturing or, auto or any other ancillary uh, businesses, or uh, even if it is a tech company or a SaaS company like, Anil mentioned, uh, there is no way a company is, successful without having a good technology enablement in whatever they're offering to their customers, right? So the customer offerings
Correct.
definitely
Correct.
need a lot of tech involvement in that. And
Correct.
the GCC rush to India, or what we are seeing in the last 3-4 years, is, of course, uh, one is, the way in which the methodology or the way of working is changing. But the other thing is there's a huge gold, which is the talent, which is available here and in India. So it is in the interest of the good SMB, or, whichever that companies are, in whichever area of business that they are, for building tech and, solutions for themselves. Being closer to the talent, being closer to the gold is essential just like how their sales and marketing is probably closer to their customers and working, building technologies, essentially require of them to be very close to where the talent market and the talent pools are available. And also with the startup and innovation, happening with the tech talent that is, experimenting in the country. I think, anything that they wish to plan for future in terms of technology or in terms of innovation for the company, uh, the focal point, continues to become India for them. So, and with also the immigration rules not very favorable, and hopefully if Mr. Trump is back, we don't know what happens. So to that extent, I think when the talent is freely available in this market, why not set it up and make best of or hire the best talent for your companies, who will work from the location that they are, the country that they are citizens of, right? So I think those are also the key decision making points, that companies should think through, because Anil said, spending a few millions of dollars on setting up a center and establishing tech talent and building leadership and driving some solutions from here, that wouldn't be lot. That is not the concern there. It is more of getting company to the next levels, as per their
Yeah.
strategic plan, right? So
It is a competitive
it's a
advantage,
competitive advantage, as we said.
Advantage.
Perfect.
Because if you're not doing, somebody else in your market is already doing.
Yes.
Yeah, your
yes.
competitor is doing, your supplier is doing, your customer is doing. I mean, you have not, you have no choice. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great, great.
So
So,
we are
thank you, Anil ji. Thank you, Phani ji. Thanks for your time. It was a pleasure and it was insightful. I mean, a lot of points, and I already did some notes to do some changes in my collaterals as well.
okay.
So thank you, audience, for the time you have given and attended this seminar. And you can visit our website, simplybiz.in, to know more and to know what kind of work we do. Thank you all. Namaste.
Take care. Take care. Good night.
Thank you.
All right. Good
Thank you.
night. Good morning.
Thank you.
And have